In this podcast, I sit with Sean Zubor. He's a top agent. He runs a team. He has a brokerage. He's out of British Columbia, Canada. And it is really interesting because his business is set up much like mine here in the Baja. Let's learn how he got into the business, how he has scaled and grown it to over 400 agents, and his goal of taking it well over 1,000 agents. Take a listen. Sean, thank you for being a guest on my podcast. It's been many months. Welcome.
Thank you, my friend. Thanks for having me, man. I'm excited to be here.
Sean, where are you located right now?
So this office is technically in Maple Ridge, British Columbia, Canada, but we're just outside of, about 45 minutes outside of Vancouver, and our offices are all across British Columbia and now just in Alberta.
Okay. And we met a few years ago at a Tom Ferry event. Our mutual coach brought us together and we did a mastermind, and I was impressed with your business because not only are you in Canada, but you're dominating not just one marketplace, but a few marketplaces.
Yeah, it's been, so as you know, I have a couple different business models. So the main one is the brokerage beside me, which is brokerage we started back in 2017 with just a few agents. And then I also have my team. We do development and new construction sales. And then obviously I still dabble here and there, mainly on the development side as well. But yeah, it's been a pretty cool journey watching the realtors expand and create or use the systems that we've kind of created. We've seen success. Like literally at the end of the month, I'm going on a 1-week tour around BC to do videos with our agents. Some of them are literally living 13 hours away from us. So it's kind of cool to see everything spread for sure.
So you started the brokerage back in 2017.
Yeah, the end of 2017, yeah.
And when you started the brokerage, were you already in real estate or was that your first jump into real estate?
Yeah, no, I was in real estate for 3 years. So this is, but at the end of this year will be my 11th year in real estate. So I started in 2013, end of 2013. So it was about 3 or 4 years. And then I built up a pretty substantial real estate team. And at that time, there weren't a lot of teams here. Most of the teams were like husband and wife or family, that kind of stuff. So I modeled myself a lot of from what I had mentors in the States. Obviously, teams have been a big thing there for a long time. And then I kind of brought the online lead generation, all those things up, grew the team to a point where we were doing high 7 figures in gross commissions. And yeah, then really it was my team that didn't like where we were at that time as a brokerage, and we're like, let's go do something boutique, open up our own thing. So my current business partner and I opened up Stonehouse Realty. And for the first, up until just before 2020, up until that point, the whole goal was just to have a boutique brokerage, maybe 30, 40, 50 agents. And I think in 2019, we only had 40-ish, something along those lines. And it was just basically his team and my team and a couple other friends. When we saw the changes and the systems that our friends implemented, which were systems that we were currently using, and saw them go from like 20 transactions to 100, that's when we're like, okay, maybe we got something cool going on here. And the entire thing switched. So 2019, 2020, that's really when we put our feet to the pedal and decided to create something that's hopefully going to be international one day.
And as it currently stands, how many agents are in the brokerage? How many different markets are you servicing? How many offices? What's the transaction count?
Yeah, so we have roughly about 400 agents. Our goal next year is to be at 1,000. We just got it. We're just in British Columbia only. We just got licensed in Alberta and Calgary. So we're looking to make a big expansion there in the next few months and working on a few exciting things. So we'll see what happens. Stay tuned to that. But our goal is to hit 1,000 agents, not next year, but the year after, and go public and then eventually go to the States.
Wow. Okay, so we definitely need to be paying attention to Stonehouse Realty, located right now just in Vancouver area, British Columbia, and expanding throughout the country, going to the States, and maybe I'll see you here in Mexico even.
Oh, I'm coming for you. There's nobody I'd rather partner with in
So
Latin America, that's for sure.
how do you go from a single agent growing your own team in and then going to a brokerage to 400 agents? What have been the key things to move the needle in your business?
So I'm a firm believer, and it's kind of funny because I've always been in the social media side. We always did online lead generation. That's always been a big part of our business, and we've talked about this before. But I'm also a firm believer in just the basics, and I feel like the one thing that funny because I'm pretty sure I have ADD, so I'm all over the place, the different things that I like to do, and I'm a bit of an extremist in many things, but the one thing, if I have any skill set, is I'm good at learning from people that have done it before in the past and executing. So I I try to mitigate reinventing the wheel as much as possible.
Right.
Obviously, I like to build my own wheel, but the reality is that the knowledge is out there. You just really have to execute and execute relentlessly. And I think one of the biggest issues is we are always, as agents, as people in general, we're always looking to we get, especially in real estate, we get so caught up with what everybody else is doing that we're trying to compete with something that may or may not even be real, instead of focusing on what is our next objection, what is our next task, where is the level we have to be. I've been lucky enough to coach some amazing agents that are brokerage that have done seven figures in commission their first year. Even though obviously that's rare, but if you look at everything that they've done, it's just repeatable of what people have done before, executing relentlessly and looking at the next step. Far too often, I have people coming into real estate and they're like, "Hey, I want to start a team." I'm like, "Yeah, but you don't even know how to write a contract yet." So
Okay.
for me, it's, even though it's amazing to have a huge, large, bigger than life ambition and goal, but understand, and that's one of the things that I love about Tom is too, is you have that 3 to 5 year vision, so you can really work backwards. Like, this is what I want. I want to look like Nick Fong. I want to have a business like his. Okay, well, what does Nick Fong's business look like? You know what I mean? Like, how many staff does he have? Where does he look, etc. And then you can kind of like work backwards and create steps to that point. And that's really what I've done over the years, is more or less, I never actually went to start a team. I just said, hey, I want to be an amazing rock star. My goal was to be rookie of the year. I fell just short of it, but I did roughly 60 transactions in my first year. Funny
Mm.
enough, when you do that many transactions and you're, close to seven figures in your first year, it gets a lot of attention. So other people were calling me being like, hey man, you're killing it. Can I be on your team? And I'm like, I
Right.
didn't even think of a team. When that came to fruition, then I'm like, okay, I want to go find some rock star team leads that I can copy and duplicate. And then my next goal was just be the top 1% real estate team and just kill it there, grow that, manage those systems, get it to a point where it's perfect. Once that happened, people started being like, hey, Sean, you're in your fourth year of real estate. You opened a brokerage and you're doing whatever $200 million in real estate. How did you do that when I haven't done that in 15 years? Well, I can show you how to do that, because this is just what I did. And then they did that. So it's step by step instead of, and 4 years is not a lot of time in the grand scheme of things. But naturally, we think of like, I want to be there now. And I just think, and I'm always trying to pull myself back from that as well. But I feel like if I could say one thing that has really led to any success, is just be focused on the next target. When you're with your client, it's not about selling them the home. It's about, first having the conversation and booking the appointment, build the rapport. Then, it's step by step instead of always jumping the gun.
Okay. And for you, you were mentioning earlier that you kind of have these different businesses going on. You have the brokerage business, and for those that don't know what that means, that's basically setting up the offices, the admin, providing the systems, the technology for the agents in the brokerage. And you have 400 of those kind of agents.
That's correct. Yeah. So my personal team fluctuates depending on what kind of business I'm bringing on at that time, between 8 and 20 agents, give or take. In general, I think right now we have 11 agents on the team. But the actual real estate brokerage itself, yeah, we have We have, I think it was 12 real estate teams within the brokerage. Obviously, hundreds of independent agents. And our main goal is to provide them the opportunity to training. We do 52 training sessions a month. We have our own Stonehouse University, all these other things. Our goal, I think, for me, the biggest thing that, obviously I could pitch Stonehouse all day long, and that's not why I'm here. But for myself, um, I found our niche, the biggest difference between our realtors and what I wanted to contribute to our community is really to change real estate into less of it's always going to be a sales job, but less of like, where's my next deal coming from? And to
Mhm.
help people create real estate businesses as a
Okay.
realtor, as an independent agent. How do I create a business plan? How do I do all these other things? I think that has been one of the biggest things that we've focused on along the ways.
So if I'm a new agent and I'm listening to this podcast, what are the basics that you mentioned that I should be focusing on?
So it's there's a few things depending on where you are and so on and so forth. I genuinely believe finding a mentor is an incredibly huge thing. It could be joining a team, it could be part of Tom Ferry or another coach, it could be joining an awesome brokerage that has all the systems in plan. I genuinely think that's huge, because this is something that actually Grant Cardone taught me when I was getting coached by him for a while there. Um, he looked at business and mentors as like your C-suite executives, your own board. And
Mhm.
so he has a board of directors for his life. So if I'm in real estate investing, this is my guru. This is who I follow. I don't follow anybody else. In real estate, this is in personal and faith and etc. So I feel like too many times, because there's a lot of different ways to be successful in real estate. You could TikTok dance to yourself to fame. You could, cold call your way. You can do whatever it is. I feel like finding somebody that can guide you along the way that has already done what you want to do and where you want to go. I think that's probably the most important thing to begin with. Um, Understanding that you need to create a business plan right away. Um, I genuinely believe that as a realtor, you need to come into it as a business, not just as a sales job. Too many agents get licensed. They come to the brokerage, raring, ready to go, sit down, and they're just like twiddling their thumbs. Now, what do I do? Right.
Mhm.
So for us, what we created in the Stonehouse University is we have mandatory classes that they have to go through for the first 45 days if you're a new agent. That's everything from contract classes to business planning to prospecting. Because a lot of people, and I know you know this very, very well, real estate is not an incredibly difficult business. Like it's a steep learning curve in the fact that most licensing, especially here, it's a bunch of time. And I don't know if you guys have to do this, but you have to learn how to do amortizations on mortgage calculators and all these things where even mortgage brokers don't really do that in real life. So it's a lot of waste, right? But when they come here, they don't know how to do a business plan. They don't know where they get their clients from. They're expecting all their friends and family to want to do business with them. Reality is there's more agents than cars here. Right?
Yeah.
So it's not the actual transaction, it's getting them to work with you versus the other, in our specific area, 27,000 other agents.
Mhm. And so, what are the biggest challenges right now in the British Columbia real estate market? Because what we're seeing in Mexico and also in our US counterparts in their industry, in their market, it's shifted quite a bit in the last year or so. How have you been impacted in the last year or so?
Yeah, so definitely with just reading, as mentioned earlier, I just read a report that we are down 20% year over year, and 2023 wasn't a great year either in overall sales, and our listing volume has gone through the roof. It's, I think, almost 40% higher.
Mm.
Um, Obviously, a lot of this has to do with interest rates, and we do have an announcement coming from tomorrow on our side with the Bank of Canada. So I think there's a lot of people that are priced out because of the interest rates. I think there's a lot of uncertainty because of that, um, and there's a lot of fear in general in the market. But that being said, it's kind of funny. Like you see a lot of the savvy investors getting in now, buying now because they feel like it's probably bottomed. Our inflation rate is in the 2% again, or low threes, so it's more within normality. So I feel like we're kind of just on a tipping point. As far as being a realtor, a lot of people are scared. And I feel like this is, for myself anyways, these are the biggest opportunities.
Yeah.
Like during this time, if you're a brand new realtor or seasoned realtor, there's always going to be a mass exodus when it becomes hard. And I think now is the time that if you double down on the fundamentals of real estate, building those relationships, conversating to as many people as you possibly can about buying or selling real estate, the 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 piece of the pie that you can carve out for yourself right now versus the busy times of 2021 or etc., it's a
Mhm.
completely different ballgame.
Are you seeing in your personal business and in the brokerage the decline, as you mentioned, in the overall market, that 20% decline, or are you outperforming the market? How is your business faring?
Yeah, so I would say we're outperforming the market substantially right now. Um, a lot of people around me, and I would say that in general for our brokerage and for my team. Now, is it 2021 numbers? By no means is it. Like, I'm a realist as well. But there's two things that I noticed in these. You start seeing agents fall off and giving up their licenses and going back to doing whatever they were doing before. You see a lot of like the no fee brokerages where they're just hanging their license. A lot of people go to that in between. Um, but then you also see on the flip side of that, the agents that maybe weren't introduced to real estate in 2021 and gone through hard times or just getting it into the business right now, they don't know anything different.
Yeah,
So when they execute what they should be executing, there's just that much more business to go around because there's less agents to compete with.
yeah, I agree with that. And it's the agents that were kind of spoiled by getting into the market and they only know the 2021, 22, 23 market, and they are scratching their head and wondering where's the business.
Yeah, yeah, and I think it's a blessing if it's a challenge to start in the business right now, but in the long run, it's an absolute blessing. Because if you can make it through this and you can create the good habits and the systems in place to kind of take you to the next step, I think it's an absolute no-brainer. And you're going to, it's always cyclical in real estate. No matter what anybody says, there's always ups and there's always downs. So there will be another 2021 again, without a doubt, right? So if you can stick it out now and create this business, the people that will be in the next cycle of the next 2021, not only can you still make seven figures now, I genuinely think by then you're going to be doubling and tripling it, right?
How many agents are in your marketplace?
So in British Columbia, there's 27,000 the last time I checked, but in the Lower Mainland, Fraser Valley, there's around 20,000.
Okay. And across how many brokerages would you say those agents sit in?
There's roughly about 700, 600 and
700.
something. Yeah.
Okay. And Stonehouse is considered one of the larger brokerages in the market?
Yeah. So we are one of the largest independent for
Mm.
sure. And then there are like obviously Remax franchises and stuff like that. In Canada, Remax still has a pretty big uh, foothold. Like we are, I think in Canada, Remax is by far the number one seller of real estate. You are starting to see obviously a big switch, people going virtual brokerages, EXP, real. I think there's the most real agents out here, but yeah, it's a good spread amongst a lot of different things.
Okay. And if you're a seller in today's market with 40% more inventory that you mentioned, how can you be competitive? How can you sell your property in today's market?
So we have these questions a lot right now. Obviously, it's an important one. I I always my personal understanding is this, right? Is when I go to a listing appointment, nobody really wants to sell a home. Like selling a home is an inconvenience, right? So nobody gets excited about, hey, I get to sell my house. They all get excited about where they're moving next, right?
Mhm.
Or perhaps if it's an investment, they're cashing out and they're going to be putting that into something else, right? So for me, I always look particularly at the situation at B of where they're moving next. Yes, their house might be competing against many more now, but the one that they're going to be buying is in the same situation. Their house may have lost in value, but the place that they're going to be buying is in a similar situation. So I look at the entire process of the purchase and buy and the financials that are incorporated in both of those. And we dive deep in that and make sure that they understand like, okay, at the peak, you might have sold your home for, and the average home prices out here are still $1.5, $1.6 million. So it's not cheap. And a lot of our homes are $3.5 million plus. So yeah, you might have lost a couple $100,000 on that home versus the peak, but the one that if you're going from 1.5 to 2.5, they've all lost 10%. So you're actually saving $150,000 more or less in
Right.
between, right? So I look at that entirety of that. I also pitch the importance of the good thing about markets like this is like a lot of the discount realtors or discount brokerages, they don't do as well, mainly because we do put substantial amount of money behind our listings. You know, we have a full-time videography team, photography team, measurement, like a Google ad management, Facebook management, all that kind of stuff that goes behind
Yep.
all of our listings. And I feel like that genuinely helps. You have to price it right. And if anybody says that they can sell anything for any price, it's BS, right? The reality is price does matter. But the marketing is actually incredibly important. And funny enough, conversation I had with Ryan Serhant years ago when I brought him to Vancouver, and I've asked a few of our luxury realtor friends,
Mhm.
what's the most important thing about listing a home? And it really does come down to pictures and marketing and getting it out there, creating entertaining videos, whatever it is creating presence and brand.
Yep.
So I particularly say, if you're going to be listing your house, think of that house as being its own brand. How would you get that brand to the market?
I think also what I'm telling my agents is in this market, because we're experiencing the same thing you're experiencing. It's a slowdown in the market, more competition, less buyers, and the communication that you have to have and the value in the communication with your sellers is going to be so much more important now in today's market, because when your property is on the market 50%, 100% more days on market and it's not selling and you're not getting the tours, then you have to be able to explain to your seller why that's happening. Not that, I don't know, it's a bad market and that's it.
And it's huge, Nick. I couldn't agree with you more. At the end of the day, I think that's absolutely paramount. I think as professionals, a lot of times, and this is once again creating that business versus just strictly sales, is really setting up your client for success, creating those parameters of the realistic process. Letting them understand that, hey, average days on market is this long. And if you can go to that listing appointment, if you can have those real and frank conversations with your clients, I feel like not only will the process be smoother for both, right?
Mhm.
But B, that's where you create long-term referrals, long-term business partners, et cetera, right? So to that point, one of the systems that we've implemented in the brokerage or sorry, a lot of our agents use, I should say, is we actually have, so all of our listings, we have specific follow-up days that we do. So if my client just listed their home, we have open Saturdays, Sundays. Wednesdays or Mondays are follow-up days. Thursdays are text message, shows all the stats that we do. So all of our how many views we had on Facebook, on Google, on our landing pages, how many views we had through all the various different sorts of platforms that we use. All of those things are kind of something that they see that the work is being done, and it never
Yeah.
really tests. And also, it gives us a good opportunity to be realistic with them. If the price is too high, right? They can see you've done everything. The market just says it's not worth that, right? So it's a lot easier to follow up and ask for price reduction when you have all of the work that you've done laid out for them, right?
Right.
Than just being like, hey, Nick, it's not selling. Can you drop the price?
They're like, Sean, when was the last time you showed my property? When was the last marketing piece? When was the last open house that you conducted?
Exactly, right?
Yeah, so when we talk about, you mentioned a couple times the business plan, and that's something I can admit was never important in my business. But when I started paying attention and actually doing a business plan, I saw remarkable changes to my business. How important has that business plan been in your own personal business, and what maybe have you seen in other agents, the benefits?
So I can tell you, for me, it's been night and day. And I feel like it gives you security in many ways. And what I mean by that is even something as simple as vacations. Okay, so when you're a motivated individual and you want to work, well, and you have family or your friends or you just living life in stress, the reality is what ended up happening to me in my first 2 or 3 years of real estate, it was just constant go, 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 go. I would look and be like, okay, well, my wife's extremely upset with me right now because we haven't done anything. So what am I going to do? I'm going to go book a vacation to Mexico tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
going to go visit Nick, right? And then so I booked that vacation, and because it was last minute, I leave. I still have 7 listings or 10 listings or whatever. So now they're all calling me and asking what's going on, and doesn't end up becoming a vacation, etc. It just Whereas, and it's funny because I got asked this, it's like, okay, your last job. So I've never had anything but non-sales jobs. But for example, my wife, she's a nurse, right?
Hmm.
So as a nurse, you legitimately have to give your entire year's vacation booked, right? Book those times off. And this is with most big corporate companies too, right? And that's your vacation, no more, no less, sick days or whatever, maybe, right? So I started incorporating everything with the business because what I noticed was, and I'm sure a lot of agents can relate, is that some days you work 10, 12 hours and you feel like you got nothing done. And then some days you work, 3 or 4 hours and you feel like you got lots done, etc. So for myself is instead of thinking and going by emotion of like what I did or didn't do, having my business plan and bringing that down to daily actions of what I need to do. And once those are done, then I'm done for the day. And I have no guilt. I have no issues. Like
Hmm.
I've said, these are the amount of people I'm going to conversate with. These are the amount of people I'm going to door knock. This is the amount of people I'm going to meet new agents with, whatever it is. Once I'm done that, I'm done. I know I've done what I'm supposed to do because the business plan says it. And a lot of other things too, if I like understanding, I really like a lot of what Tom Ferry does too, understanding your audiences, your different marketing categories. One of the biggest things that we've noticed this year where my team has had a tremendous amount of successes is we've been chasing our individual avatars, both as a team and as individual agents, right?
Yep.
Um, and far too many, especially with 20,000 plus agents to compete with, you can buy all the bus backs, bus benches, you could, market yourself everywhere. Then you're competing against like the Coca-Colas of the world, where
Hmm.
somebody's going to put $1 million or $2 million into marketing, right? A
Hmm.
year. For myself, and I can just use this, I'm an avid outdoorsman, so I'm part of like the Wild Sheep Society and so on and so forth. I've been going after entrepreneurs that are similar to myself, that are avid outdoorsmen. I look at the last 10 deals I personally did, mostly all developers, and I look at what commonality did I have with all of them. And there was a bunch. And if you look at those types of people I work with, they're friends now. I can go for a beer with them. I
Yeah.
can do whatever. I don't have to build a rapport. It's already there. So now I'm like, for example, this Wild Sheep Society, I'm on a podcast with them next week and I'm sponsoring some of their events. I sat down with one of their tables. The guy I was sitting with, I donated $5,000. He cut a check for 100,000 or something ridiculous, right? I'm like, what do you do? And lo enough, he was an oil guy. Now he's getting into development. We're looking for properties for $100 million in Chilliwack now. And so it's just finding the group. And I think Tom had somebody on years ago on Summit or something like that. I think it was called Finding Your Tribe or something along
Yeah.
those lines. And that really resonated with me. And I feel like if you can base your marketing on people that are more like you in most cases, like your avatar, who you want to
Mhm.
work with, the amount of results you get back, especially in this time frame that we're in right now and this type of market, it's 10x versus just trying to appease everyone.
It's the adage, your vibe attracts your tribe. And that's exactly what you're talking about. It's if you can segment your audience and the avatar that you mentioned, it also makes it more enjoyable for you to work. It's like you're not really working. If tennis is your gig, or golf, or fishing, or hiking outdoors, hunting, and
Yeah.
you find your clients in that way, I mean, what better way to combine business and pleasure?
100%. And it's one of the as a real estate agent, really the main reason people choose, there's two reasons people to choose to work with you, right? A is your professionalism and what you know and your skill set, which we can all work on. But B is the rapport and the relationship you build with them, right? So if you can basically get that part almost already done just because the commonality and similarities you have, your life becomes so much easier at the end of the day. And like you said, those people end up being lifelong customers and a lot easier to work with.
Yeah, they say they have to know you, they have to like you, and they have to trust you. And so if you get that trifecta, you're going to win in real estate.
And the thing is it's been a big eye opener because, like I said, in the last year, I've had my team executing this relentless. So they all have their avatars written down of exactly what their client looks like. And all we've done is because people are like, okay, well, how do I meet these people? So let's just say you want to get into you want to work with entrepreneurs that are outdoorsmen, for example, right? Well, who works with entrepreneurs? Lawyers, accountants, financial planners, etc. Some of them have lists of 600 people that they're calling to see, hey, are you into the outdoors? Are you into this? Yeah, you are. Then guaranteed their clients are going to be like that, right? And it's creating this referral network that it's just been yielding a ton of success for us.
Brother, you've been to Cabo before, right?
I have, yes, a couple times.
So I'm actually having an event in November. You have to come on out. It's going to be a small group of us masterminding, talking about real estate from all parts, Canada, US, of course, me here in Mexico. And once I get the details, I'll make sure you get the invite.
I would love to come, bro.
It's in November.
That's perfect. November works perfect for me. Hunting season is done.
Tom is coming, so he'll be at the event.
Awesome. I'm excited.
Well, Sean, I appreciate your time, and you've been very generous, giving great advice, especially to real estate agents in the business. And I wish you nothing more than a huge amount of success and well on your way to 1,000 agents in your brokerage.
Thank you, my friend. And I'm looking forward to working with you in the long run. I'm still coming.
All right. Look forward to it, Sean. Take care.
Take care, bro. Bye for now.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Nick Fong Podcast. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast and the YouTube channel at youtube.com/Ronaval Real Estate and follow Nick on Instagram at NickFong_Ronaval. Ready to find your Baja dream home? Check out the latest property listings at ronaval.com or findmexicohouses.com. Hasta luego.